I'm infamous fear. What's that? It's time for Infamous Queer!
Pride, 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 darling, darling, pride, pride 95!
Evil lesbians. As we all know, there's nothing more horrifying than someone who's attracted to members of their own gender, because queer people, unlike straight people, do not have any manners, respect or decorum when it comes to pursuing those they are interested in. Gay people are never hesitantly polite about their attractions or anything. It's not as if they experience months, if not years, of being told that they were disgusting by simply daring to exist by classmates in high school, and now they feel nervous about even admitting that they're attracted to anyone. No! Their sexuality is such a grotesque aberration that rather than simply asking if someone would like to have coffee with them and then going from there, they immediately sexually fixate on someone and can only express it by creepily obsessing over their chosen love interest, despite the poor heterosexual's lack of attraction to them. So let us explore this deviant class of people to whom the normal rules of not being a creep do not apply. LGBT people have been portrayed as sinister and evil in cinema since the medium began. You want your evil killer to be just a little bit more disturbing? Add a touch of homosexuality. Part of this was due to censorship, an evil gay character being a lot more socially acceptable than a positive gay character. Part of this was also to do with the fact that society sucked. Fast forward to 1980. Gay people had fought very publicly for their rights throughout the 1970s, and there was some kind of indication that public opinion of gay people was gradually beginning to change. For one thing, homosexuality was no longer illegal in much of the Western world. But in 1980, 2 movies came out that upset the growing LGBT rights movement. One of them was very well known, and quite notable in the history of queer cinema. Cruising showcased a sleazy, leather-clad world of muscle bars, rampant sexuality, and a sinister homosexual killer, leading the LGBT community to protest against the movie and to try their utmost to disrupt its production. But cowboy strippers aside, Cruising wasn't actually the grotesquely offensive production it was viewed as at the time. With a greater range of LGBT media widely available, and with the perspective of time, Cruising can be seen for what it is. A story about a subculture within the gay community, and a police officer standing up for LGBT rights, with positive and developed gay characters, and a level of gay visibility practically unheard of in movies preceding it. So that's all good then. But Cruising wasn't the only movie to come out in 1980 to draw the ire of the LGBT community. No, because that very same year produced something far worse. The brown-tinged tale of an evil lesbian outsourcing sexual assault to Andre the Giant. A movie that has long since been forgotten because it was too terrible to even become notorious. This is windNOs.
I can see your house, and when the lights are on, I can watch you move.
Ah yes, windNOs. Not to be confused with the operating system of the same name, this 1980 thriller must have seemed promising enough. The director was cinematographer Gordon Willis, best known for his work with the Godfather trilogy. windNOs also featured a score by noted film composer Ennio Morricone. However, windNOs was very poorly received, receiving multiple nominations for the first Golden Raspberry Awards and being slammed by critics. The story came under harsh criticism for being cruel and homophobic, and was pulled from cinemas after only a few weeks. But is the film really that bad? Or are we looking at a lesbian version of Cruising? Something that simply came out at the wrong time? How bad can it possibly be? The film starts with a rather nice looking shot of a neon-lit tunnel, which is unfortunately spoiled by the sounds of 2 people having an incredibly inane conversation.
Aren't you leaving early?
If anything, it's late.
Incidentally, Emily, I think the windmill's taking too much time from the tour, so...
Stephen, the windmill is fine.
No, I like the windmill.
Could we talk about it tomorrow?
I hope you enjoyed that, because after this, the film processing lab in charge of the print accidentally tinted the rest of the film sepia. So this little bit of Tron-styled neon is the last bit of colour you're ever going to get. Our main character is Emily Hollander, a woman with a large collection of woolly hats and a cringing, meek personality. She recently broke up with her husband and is now walking home while humming like someone's mum washing the dishes. But But when Emily arrives home, her life of boring brown domesticity is interrupted abruptly with the arrival of rapist Andre the Giant.
You got underwear on? Huh?
Don't hurt me, please.
God, 5 minutes in and we've already got a rape scene. This has to be some kind of record.
Well, actually, Nail Gun Massacre had a rape scene before the credits even started. Wait, is that Andre the Giant? What exactly are you watching?
windNOs.
This doesn't have Hulk Hogan in it, does it? This isn't going to end well.
So, Andre the Giant records himself raping Emily in an incredibly drawn-out way. I hate to say it, but this is the worst rape scene ever, purely because he's just taking so damn long to get to the rape. You're on the clock, man! Get on with it! But suddenly, we forget all about that, and cut to someone randomly jogging in a grey tracksuit. Who is this person? Why should we care? So while the world's lamest version of Rocky takes place, Emily is talking to the police about her sexual assault. I don't know why she doesn't go to the hospital and get a rape kit, but... Oh, don't tell me Rocky Balboa here is still jogging! What is this? Is this workout in real time? Anyway, Emily is asked by the police for more details on the rapist.
I told you it was dark. I couldn't see.
Really? He looked like Andre the Giant! How hard is that to remember? So now, let us pause during this riveting scene when Emily and her Rocky Balboa-esque friend have a conversation, to instead focus on the beauty of this movie's atmosphere and production design. As you can see, Emily's apartment has been decorated by the same 7-year-old set designer who would later rise to fame with this daring, naive aesthetic approach to the production design of Ben and Arthur. The lighting techs also must have been in their infancy, owing to the fact that the light levels throughout the movie keep fluctuating within a single scene. Light! Now dark! Now light again! I'm going to have to assume that this is actually a problem with the print of the film that I have available, rather than how windNOs was actually filmed, because there is just no way you would have the lighting be so poor, so inconsistent and bizarre, without it being a deliberate stylistic choice. Not even inept filmmakers with no budget fade the lighting in and out within a single shot, and it's certainly an indication of the woeful quality of your film when Sam Raivich did a better job than you. Anyway, back to the plot. If you have at least half of your cortex relatively intact, you may have worked out that Andrea here hired Andre the Giant to rape Emily, even though Emily is so fragile and woebegone that if Andrea really did have some kind of sexual obsession with her, it wouldn't have been that hard for Andrea to simply sexually assault Emily herself. Why did she have to hire Andre the Giant to do it? Why is any of this happening? Before you have a chance to figure out whether any of this actually has a point, the movie then begins to tease us with the promise of Morricone's soundtrack, but we never get any actual music. There has to be something appropriate to score windNOs with, something that will help the mood, that'll enhance the content of the story, something that... Ah, there we go! Emily is understandably frightened about living in the same apartment where her sexual assault took place, so she decides to move out and calls her colleague Stephen, the man with whom she had the boring conversation at the beginning. Stephen isn't keen with being called away from his work at the glass globule factory, but he agrees to help Emily move her things. Meanwhile, Andrea is being evil and listening to Emily's rape tape in the car. Ah, the smooth night sounds of Andre the Giant. Sadly, unlike The Watcher, there's no megalomaniac cat stroking and petrol stations exploding in the distance, so I feel somewhat cheated. So, we're about 21 minutes into the movie, and already every single fucking plot point has been revealed. A boring woman who we don't care about was raped by Andre the Giant, who was paid to do it by another boring woman we don't care about. The movie should just end here! Sadly, to no one's surprise, Gordon Willis did not make a feature film less than the length of the average television episode, so we must keep struggling along through the brown doldrums of windNOs. Emily and Andrea have another pointless conversation, because Emily hasn't yet worked out that Andrea is creepy and evil, and still hangs around her for some reason. Emily goes to the police station to meet with the cop on her case, walking straight into an extremely awkward, poorly framed static shot, where she continues to stand there like a babushka doll for about 5 minutes while she talks to discount Robert De Niro. God, I wish I were watching Taxi Driver instead. Anyway, we're still on the same shot, either because Gordon Willis forgot how to do close-ups, or because his cameraman's hand seized up.
You scared the hell out of me.
Well, he raped you. That's a bit of an understatement. The movie progresses, with more shots of Emily just standing there. She goes over to Andrea's place, so she can just stand there in another place, and look, Andrea is standing there as well, but at least her pose is more exciting. Bramwell Bronte would be proud. Andrea tries to reassure Emily, but we all know this won't work, because everyone knows Andrea is evil. Even the cat. Oh, Jesus Christ, get on with it. This movie is sending me into a brown stupor. Wait, was that some music?
You did a little disappearing act.
Oh my god, yes! Ennio Morricone has finally showed up! It only took him 34 minutes!
What? That's not Ennio Morricone. What are you talking about?
Says so in the credits.
Is that so?
Yep.
Well, he clearly didn't care for this film at all.
Why? Because the score sounds like Johnny Tremaine trying to play the piano with his deformed and fused silver crucible hand?
Because it sounds like anybody could have composed it. It's so generic. For all we know, it's some free-to-use public domain music, and Ennio was originally meant to do the score, but backed out of the project because screw this tripe. But they left his name in the credits anyway to get people excited about it.
Well, that, or he just didn't care.
Exactly. There's no middle ground.
windNOs, a true cinematic masterpiece. Anyway, back to the brown wasteland. Budget De Niro, much like everyone else in this movie, doesn't seem to have any common sense or scruples, which he demonstrates when he thinks to himself, hey, I'm the detective on this case. It sure will be a swell idea to hit on a rape victim.
Would you like to get a bite tonight?
Anyway, the plot suddenly decides it might need to start happening again. Emily gets in a cab and the camera dramatically zooms into the cab driver's license. Let me guess. The cab driver is Andre the Giant.
Speak up. I can't hear you.
Oh, what a surprise. Emily begs the cab driver to pull over and calls the police. Smart move, considering that she knows the cab driver's name now and can see the license plate from the payphone. Now all she has to do is run into a public building and... She gets back in the cab?! She did everything she could to alert the police. She had absolutely no reason to get back into the cab with her rapist. Okay, I now officially retire any pretense I ever had of caring about Emily. When she's presented with two options, one of which is the right thing to do, the logical thing to do, and the easier, safer option, she does the other one! You should be disqualified from life, woman! We then have what apparently passes for an action sequence in this film as the police pursue Andre the Giant's cab, rescue Emily and arrest him. Andre then tells the cops that he was hired to rape Emily by someone else. Oh, colour me shocked! After all that happens, Budget De Niro goes over to Emily's new brown house to have a romantic dinner with her. They're even eating off a brown dinner service. I can't make this up. Suddenly, the director of Tipping the Velvet takes over, and we fade into some blue 1950s kids for some reason. Oh my god, they're not brown! Oh right, it's the TV. Well, that had nothing to do with anything. While Budget De Niro and Emily are having dinner, they're being watched. And this time it isn't Keanu. Yes, Andrea is spying on them from the apartment building opposite, and she's practically having an orgasm. She's coming to a climax simply by watching someone sitting at a table over 100 metres away. I'd hate to see how she'd react if she saw some porn. Andrea has a conversation with her therapist, she listens to the rape tape again, blah blah, who cares. There's then a pointless shot of Emily and Budget De Niro walking along a bridge, so far away that they're essentially black blobs. What did that have to do with anything? Why is there suddenly an extended shot of a yellow house? Why?
It's to remind you of the existence of colors other than brown.
Thank God. I can see why that would be necessary. Anyway, Andrea suspects that Emily might be being heterosexual somewhere, so of course she has to ruin this by ringing her up and playing the rape tape over the phone. Then, to underscore the drama of this moment, the light levels go up and down like a kid is standing there on a stool flicking the switch. Five times! I wish his parents would come along and yell at him! Suddenly, things start going wrong. Emily's neighbour goes missing, and so does Emily's cat. Let me guess. The cat will be in the fridge. No, I was wrong. The neighbour just randomly dropped dead or something. And now we're back to the therapist. So apparently Andrea is insane, just in case you couldn't already tell, but for a portrayal of a menacing insane person, they didn't really go far enough. She doesn't do anything interesting or insanely weird. Where's the gravestone beer? Where's the nitrous oxide and the lipstick? To be honest, going on how people in this movie behave, Emily has got to be just as insane as Andrea. So anyway, the husband is still missing, probably thrown off a bridge with an orange cat tied to his feet. Budget De Niro said that he saw a telescope over in the building opposite, and instead of, getting a search warrant and searching the building to find the apartment in question, he instead gets some guy to track any recent telescope purchases. I'm sure he could have gotten it done much more quickly if he just employed this guy. Then we see Emily at the fridge. The lighting suddenly changes and... Okay, the cat's going to be in the freezer, isn't it? Okay, I take it back. Forget the neon tunnel at the beginning of the movie. That was clearly the best bit. Since Emily is still as wooden-headed and stupid as a babushka doll, her reaction to this horrifying, amusing discovery is to call Andrea and beg to see her. So Emily goes into Andrea's apartment and then finally puts two and two together when she sees Andrea's telescope and realises what anyone with half a brain knew 7 minutes into the movie. Okay, so now here's when the movie's going to get exciting. Andrea's going to try and rape Emily, and in this struggle, Emily will get the upper hand and kill her. But no, that's a plot for other terrible 80s movies. windNOs is too crap even for that. Andrea then proceeds to hit on her and to try and force Emily to comply to her sexual demands, and Emily just stands there and takes it. Why? Usually when they portray a situation like this, when a stalker or an aggressor is trying to assault someone, they have some kind of power over the victim. They're a lot bigger and stronger than the victim, or the victim is in some way restrained, injured or incapacitated. Maybe the aggressor is armed, or they have a gang of others backing them up. Or they force the victim to comply because they've taken a hostage. Often there's a combination of advantages that the aggressor has over the victim. In The Watcher, Keanu is armed and is also keeping a hostage, not to mention being arguably larger and more physically fit than Joel. In Blue Velvet, Frank has a hostage, a physical advantage and a collection of fellow violent criminals. Andrea has nothing! Emily and Andrea are about the same size and Andrea isn't even armed. There's no hostage being kept, not even Emily's cat. So why the hell doesn't Emily push Andrea out of the way and run for it? I don't even think the doors are locked. There is absolutely no reason why Emily should have to comply. Lamest hostage situation ever. Anyway, eventually Emily hits Andrea. It only took her about 5,000 years to do so. Then the movie suddenly gives up, ending in an incredibly abrupt, boring fashion. We don't even get to see Andrea jump out of the window on fire or anything.
The last thing I said to you was to stay home. I'll be back. Say, are you still out of coffee?
I never was.
The last line of the movie. So that was windNOs, and my dear God, was it a useless abomination of a movie. The basic plot may be familiar to you. We have a vulnerable person in poor mental health after being separated from their partner, a strange and creepy homosexual aggressor who continually watches them and listens to tapes of them in a car, countless therapist sessions, and an eventual climax involving the main character at the mercy of their stalker. Yes, windNOs is basically The Watcher, but far, far worse. The Watcher is a very bad film. It's nonsensical and filled with bizarre creative decisions made by an overexcited auteur used to directing videos 20 times shorter. Keanu's murdering stalker is not in any way menacing, and any amount of suspense the film might have had falls flat on its face. But The Watcher is entertaining. It's funny, it's bizarre, it's a hilarious misstep, and it's exactly what you'd expect from a director who specialised in music videos. windNOs, on the other hand, has no such charms. The director was an award-winning cinematographer and should have at least known a little about the requirements of a good film, but instead churned out the most predictable, thin plot and directed it in a fashion that seemed incredibly lazy. The framing of the shots is static and dull, the production design is disgracefully bad, and Ennio Morricone's score sounded like he recorded himself farting into a flute while watching daytime television. But windNOs' failures are not even interesting enough to make the movie worthy of laughing at. It's just so incredibly boring. None of the characters are interesting, and all of them make incredibly stupid decisions. Emily is such a pathetic character that I feel like seeking some kind of vengeance on the actor for sucking so much.
Hey now, be fair to Talia Shire. She's actually been in some pretty great stuff. Rocky, The Godfather, Prophecy the Monster movie. It's not her fault this movie sucks.
So you're saying she's actually good here?
Oh Christ no, you could replace her with a brown shoe and it wouldn't make a fucking difference.
Why did Andrea bother fixating on such a wet blanket? Why didn't she seek sexual satisfaction elsewhere? Why did Emily get back into the cab with Andre the Giant? And why was Budget De Niro such a terrible cop? I don't know, and I really don't care. The sad thing is, if Gordon Willis had just embraced the ludicrous nature of his premise, he could have made an incredibly entertaining piece of sexploitation. One where every character is a lesbian. Think of it. Our main character is a shy, retiring woman who just broke up with her girlfriend. We'll get rid of Andre the Giant. Instead, in this, our sole aggressor is our evil stalker rapist, who will be the lesbian version of Keanu Reeves. Black leather, pretty features, because we may as well add in at least a little of what made The Watcher so good. Budget De Niro will be replaced with an awesome lesbian cop who actually does stuff instead of frowning at crossword puzzles and telling people to track down telescope sales. And finally, the climax of the movie won't feature Emily just standing there hopelessly while being molested. It will instead end with the lesbian cop arriving just in time to see the now vengeful Emily stab the stalker with her own telescope. Add in some awesome music, a cinematographer who knows what the hell they're doing, and a set designer who isn't suffering from severe colour blindness, and you're well on your way to a fun, sleazy and silly movie, instead of a boring cinematic trip to hell.
I'd have to agree. For a movie with a rape scene within the first 5 minutes, this is the least sexploitive film I've ever seen. And that isn't a compliment at all. Sleaze is what you want to go for in a movie like this. Rape revenge falls teeth-shatteringly flat on its face without an actual solid revenge factor. I Spit on Your Grave followed up with brutal genital mutilation. Nail Gun Massacre had, well, a nail gun massacre. windNOs definitely had some windows, and a lot of brown. I'd make a shit joke, but this movie really hasn't earned the effort for it. It's just fucking boring.
So, would you say that windNOs would have been cooler if it were basically a lesbian version of Cruising?
Yes, without a shadow of a doubt, yes.
I was expecting windNOs to be ragingly, disgustingly offensive, but it's not. It's far too crap to be offensive. I thought I was going to be stirred into righteous indignation at a really offensive movie, but instead I was just yelling at bad filmmaking techniques. Anyone who makes a film this crap should lose their filmmaking license, and thankfully, Gordon Willis never directed another film. He's since expressed regret at the choice of the film's storyline, saying that he didn't realise the unfortunate implications of the premise, but the premise is almost the least of the film's problems. Obviously, the depiction of lesbians as predatory and mentally disturbed is offensive, but not one character in this film comes across well, and the whole thing is just too inept to even bother worrying about the ludicrous and offensive nature of the plot. There's nothing interesting to be had here. None of the characters are developed, all of the performances are lukewarm and poor, and the production quality is very bad, especially considering that we had two very big names involved. Unless you're doing some kind of class paper on the history of queer cinema, there's absolutely no reason at all to watch windNOs. The ultimate feeling it inspires is not one of rage, but one of monotony. And if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go now. I've just remembered that there are so many fulfilling, enriching cinematic experiences, and instead of thinking about windNOs any longer, I could be watching one of them instead.
Looking through the window, it seems that